This episode begins with a coalition of 5 Amorite kings from southern Canaan, led by Adoni-Zedek, the king of Jerusalem. Alarmed by Israel's growing power and the recent alliance with Gibeon, they joined forces to attack Gibeon, hoping to weaken Israel's influence. Hearing of Gibeon's plight, Joshua led an all-night march from Gilgal to defend their ally. Upon arrival, Israel launched a surprise attack, but it was God's intervention that turned the tide of battle. He sent a devastating hailstorm upon the Amorite armies, inflicting heavy casualties. As the battle continued, Joshua prayed for the sun to stand still, asking God to extend the daylight. God granted this extraordinary request, allowing Israel to finish the battle with a decisive victory. This miraculous event displayed God's direct involvement in Israel's conquests and underscored his power. After the victory, Joshua captured the 5 Amorite kings, who had hidden in a cave. Following God's instruction, Joshua executed them, setting an example for Israel's future enemies. With momentum on his side, Joshua led Israel in a series of swift campaigns throughout southern Canaan. They captured key cities, including Makkedah, Libnah, Lachish, Eglon, Hebron, and Debir. By the end of this southern campaign, Israel had secured a large part of the Promised Land, subduing a significant portion of Canaan. However, the victories in the south alarmed the northern kings, who feared Israel's growing strength. Led by Jabin, the king of Hazor, a vast coalition formed in northern Canaan to resist Israel. This alliance was even larger than the previous one, with a massive number of soldiers, horses, and chariots. Despite the formidable force before him, Joshua received God's assurance of victory. God instructed Joshua to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots, preventing Israel from relying on military power over divine support. Joshua then launched a surprise attack on the coalition at the waters of Merom, catching the armies off guard and overwhelming them. Following this victory, Joshua captured Hazor, the largest city in northern Canaan, and systematically subdued the surrounding territories. By the end of the northern campaign, Joshua had defeated the major Canaanite city-states in both the north and south, effectively completing Israel's conquest of Canaan. These victories demonstrated Joshua's obedience to God's commands and solidified Israel's presence in the Promised Land, fulfilling God's covenant promise to his people. The book of Joshua also notes the victories that Moses achieved east of the Jordan River. Moses had led Israel to defeat 2 significant kings, Sihon, king of the Amorites, and Og, king of Bashan. Their lands, located in Gilead and Bashan, were given to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh before Israel crossed the Jordan. Joshua's campaigns west of the Jordan continued this legacy, defeating 31 kings across Canaan, including prominent cities such as Jericho, Ai, Jerusalem, Hebron, and Hazor. This extensive list of conquests highlighted the scale of Joshua's mission and the faithfulness of God in fulfilling his promise of the land to Israel. Applications: depend on God's power, not just strategy. While Joshua used military strategy, it was God's intervention that ultimately determined Israel's victories. In our lives, we should remember that success comes through God's guidance and power, even as we apply wisdom in our actions. Seek God's assurance in the face of opposition. God repeatedly reassured Joshua of his presence, especially when facing intimidating enemies. We, too, should seek God's guidance and courage when facing challenges, knowing that He is with us in our battles. Obey even in small details. Joshua followed God's command to hamstring the horses and burn the chariots, avoiding reliance on military strength. This teaches us that obedience, even in minor things, keeps us aligned with God's will and reminds us of our reliance on Him. Be faithful, even when the odds are against you. Joshua faced large alliances and armies yet trusted God's promises. We can trust God's power and faithfulness, even when circumstances seem overwhelming or discouraging. Renew your commitment regularly. Just as Israel renewed their covenant, it's essential to recommit our lives to God's purpose. Taking time to reflect on His promises and our responsibilities keeps our faith strong and our focus clear.